Hello and welcome to this video about my writing routine. The writing routine that I will share with you in this video is what helped me to increase my earnings on Medium to 5 figures per month and build a 6-figure online business out of my Medium presence. So let's dive straight into it. So a lot of people ask me what my writing routine looks like, and it is an important question, but it's also very individual. So this is what works for me. I'm going to share with you how I structure my writing, how I get into the writing mood, and how I finish my articles. But keep in mind that your structure and the routine that works best for you might look slightly different depending on your own schedule, depending on your priorities, on your duties, on everything that's going on in your personal life. So how I do my writing is that I mostly write in the morning, so that's one of the most important aspects for me. I either write in the morning or late at night. So I mostly keep afternoons for other tasks such as welcoming and guiding my students, recording videos, doing other business related tasks, etc. But writing for me is something that I really need to do when I'm not getting disturbed, and that's either in the morning or really late at night. But I try to avoid late night work sessions, so I'm trying to eliminate that one. And if you have watched some of my videos, you probably know that I organize all my writing ideas in a Trello board. So Trello is a really simple task management system, and I have all my headline ideas and article ideas in Trello. So when I start writing a new article, what I do is I go on Trello, I pick one of the ideas that I have in my idea board. I put this in a draft on Medium, and then I just start with the article. And I actually do something that many people don't recommend. I write the headline, which is often not the finished headline. So I have the title that I had in my Trello board. I use that to get started, but in 99% of the cases, I fine-tune the headline at the end of the writing session, so when the article is finished. But when I start writing, I use the headline that has been on my board, then I come up with a subtitle, and then I choose the image for the article. And that's something a lot of people don't do like that or don't recommend doing. For me, it's important because I choose the image based on the emotion that I want to have in that article. So if I have a picture for the article, it helps me to set the tone for the whole article. That might be kind of emotional and it might not fit your way of writing. For me, it is really important. Like if I don't have that title image there, I don't feel confident writing the article, but because I don't know in what direction it should move and what kind of emotions it should convey. So the first thing I do when I start the article is actually looking for that title picture. That usually takes me like 5 to 10 minutes. I check Unsplash, I check Pexels, and there's another site that I check frequently that's freepik.com, I guess. And I just browse through a bunch of pictures trying to find the one that fits that article best. And once I have the image, I either go to the outlining part or I just start writing the whole article. So if it's a kind of a listicle, I might first come up with the subtitles and then get into the writing. Or if I already have the subtitles because they have been in my idea board, I copy them and start the writing process. On average, it takes me around 2 to 3 hours to write an article. I have articles that are written in a much shorter amount of time. So I can write an article in an hour if it's about writing or medium, or if it's about mostly about business related stuff. Personal development stuff mostly takes me 2 hours per article to write and finish. And once I have finished the whole article, I then go into the editing. But before I talk about editing, I want to give you a few ideas on what I do during the writing process. Most importantly, I eliminate all kinds of distractions. So I put my phone away, I close all tabs that I don't need for the writing or editing or research process. I set the tone at my workspace. So I first clean up my desk. I put a glass of water, my bottle, a cup of tea on my desk. That might sound weird, but what I also do is I have a diffuser on my work desk. So I put some water and essential oils in that diffuser, and scent is actually a really strong sense. And I just, whenever I get into a writing mood, I have certain essential oils that I just associate with productive work hours, and I really put them in my diffuser right before I start my writing sessions, and that just helps me to be more focused and get into the mood for writing. And yeah, so I just try to have a clean space, a clear head and a clean space in order to get started, so that I can be as effective as possible before I get into the writing mode. Um, what else do I do? During the writing process, I try to be really focused on the writing and not the research. So if I need some numbers or studies that prove my points, I try to do these things at the end of the writing process, because most of my articles are based on my experiences or the knowledge that I already gained through reading papers and books. So I don't do a lot of research in the writing process, and I believe that's actually something that allows you to write your articles much quicker and efficiently than if you would have to do the research while doing the writing. So that's something that I can highly recommend, especially if you're a new writer. Ask yourself which articles you can write based on your experiences, based on your knowledge or expertise that you already have, instead of Googling something and writing an article based on that. That will also help you be more credible and stand out, because everybody can like Google and then write an article, but not everybody can write an article based on what they already know and have experiences with. So that is actually an important thing to keep in mind when you're writing your stuff, or when you're trying to figure out what niche you should write in or what topics you should cover in your articles. So yeah, once I have finished writing an article, I have a lot of editing rounds. So I use Grammarly, the pro version of Grammarly, and I can highly recommend it, especially if you're a non-native speaker. But I have like tons of students who are natives and who also benefit from it a lot. So I have finished the writing of the article, and then what I do is I immediately run it through Grammarly. So I get rid of all the initial mistakes in the text. Then what I do is I do a round of proofreading and editing. And the first editing round for me is mostly cutting unnecessary words out, simplifying the language, and just making sure that it is a smooth reading experience for the reader. In most cases, what I do next is leaving the article for an entire day or at least a few hours, and then I come back to it in the next morning or a few hours later, and I do the final editing rounds. In that process, I run it through Grammarly again, because in most cases I might have new mistakes or I might have overseen a few things in the first attempt. So I clear these things up. Then I copy the whole article into the Hemingway editor, and I use that editor to even further simplify my writing. You can actually use the Hemingway editor in the web version for free, I believe. So I have the app on my Mac, and I just think that's 20 or 30 bucks, and it's a one-time payment. So that's also worth it for me because it helps me to make sure I don't have super long sentences and paragraphs in my articles. And once I finished editing with the Hemingway editor, I read the whole article again. So as you can see, I have a lot of editing rounds, and I believe that this is really important because a lot of people write mediocre articles and they don't invest enough time into the editing, and what they end up with is a lot of articles with simple mistakes. And what's even worse than mistakes is that your article just doesn't read smoothly. The words don't make sense, or it's just not a nice reading experience. And honestly, I have published more than 400 articles online, and I definitely need that editing process in order to make my articles good. I cannot write a great article at the first attempt. At the first attempt, all I do is focusing on the content and the ideas that I want to communicate. Only in the writing or in the editing process can I focus on the actual writing and that the ideas are communicated clearly. So the first part, the writing part, is all about the ideas and the content. The second part is the editing part, which is all about making sure people want to read your articles. You can have the most amazing idea and the most amazing content, but if it's not written in a way that people can resonate with it, or that people can actually like, that people want to read your article, you will lose because they will not read it. And especially if you're writing about topics like business, personal development, health, relationship, like stuff that everybody could basically write about, you should be especially careful about taking the reading experience of your articles to the next level, because you are replaceable. Other people could write the same articles, so you need to make sure that people really love reading your stuff. And I don't believe that as a beginner you cannot write in a great way if you don't do editing rounds. It's really hard to write great articles at the first attempt if you don't allow yourself to do these editing rounds. And for me, my editing takes a lot more time than the actual writing. So I can write an article really quickly, but then I take at least as much time for the editing process, and I'm not going to decrease that amount of time because it's really the key to making sure your articles are not only valuable but also engaging and interesting and written in an interesting way. So I think the most important things to sum it up is, when you start your writing process, make sure that you set up your workspace in a way that it energizes you and that it inspires you to write. Make sure to get rid of all kinds of distractions. Um, Make sure that you either like be aware if you want to write your headlines and choose the title pictures at the beginning of the process or at the end. So I know a lot of people who prefer choosing the image at the very end because they say that this is just a totally different task than the actual writing. For me, it works the other way around. And then at the end, try to come up with an editing structure that really makes sense for you. Like, look for tools that support you on that journey. For me, it's Grammarly Pro and the Hemingway editor. For you, it might be different tools, but I can really recommend checking out these two. And if possible, you might even reach out to other writers. If you have a mastermind group, reach out to them, ask them if they can help you with the editing of your articles. Don't be annoying with that, so don't send your draft links all the time. But if you have an article that is really important to you, for example, if you're trying to get into a new publication, try to get feedback from other writers. Sometimes you don't see your own mistakes, but others might be able to point them out. Yeah, so that's basically how my writing routine looks like. I try to write every day, but it doesn't always work out that way. So sometimes I don't write for 5 days or a week or even more. Then other days I write 2 articles on a day, so it's really fluctuating for me as writing is not the core of my business anymore. So at the beginning of 2020, for example, I was writing and editing every single day. It was like 90% of my time was dedicated to writing. Now that's not the case anymore. So I try to spend some time on my writing journey per day, but it's changing and fluctuating. And if you're a beginner, I would highly suggest that you come up with a structure and with a routine that really works for you. Like if you can take 15 minutes for your writing per day, that's fine. It's just you need to start somewhere, and over time you might be able to increase that amount you spend on your writing. Just make sure you spend with some kind of daily routine that helps you get into the process and helps you write as many words as possible per day.